Good morning. It's good to see all of you online today. I'm Robin Hale with the OUUC Tech Team. Welcome to all who are joining us on whatever platform you are using. This Zoom service is being recorded and it is streaming live to YouTube. We are leading worship from several locations today, so you'll see the service move back and forth between us. Most of our sharing happens in the Zoom chat box, which is not posted or shared publicly. We use the chat feature for greetings, song lyrics, affirmations and applause, and items shared from the heart. We'll be turning the chat on and off during the service today. We can expect some tech glitches as we continue to do all we can to optimize our connections. If you experience any technical issues during the service, you can reach out to Joe Celine or another member of the tech team for assistance when the chat is on. We appreciate the grace as we all remember it's about connection, not perfection. Last, I hope you will find a candle or a chalice. In a moment, we can light them together. Thank you for your grace and adaptability as we all learn together.
Good morning. Let's sing together our morning song. It's hymn number 1003, Where Do We Come From? And it's around. So I thought I'd just take us through. It has 4 different parts. I'll take us through each part, and then we'll sing it as around. We have some congregants from the choir this morning to help us. So here's the first part. Where do we come from? Where are we? What are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? That's the first part, and you sing it twice. Then the second part is, where do we come from? Where do we come from? That gets sung twice. And the third part, mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Then the last part is, where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? So we'll sing through all 4 parts 2 times. Remember that you repeat the part. And then when you get to the end of yours, you can just keep repeating part 4. I'm going to bring up the people that we're singing with this morning. Here they are. I will start, and then Joe and Susan will sing next if you want to join with them in the round. And then next, Carl will start, and you can join in with him if you want. And then finally, Judy will start. All right, let's give it a go. Here's part 1. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
Where do we come from? Mystery.
What are we?
Life.
Where are we going? Where do we come from?
Mystery.
What are we?
Life.
Where are we going?
Where do we come from?
Where are we? Mystery.
Where do we come from?
Life
Where are we
mystery.
going?
Where
Where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we?
Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation online worship service. At OUUC, we share a covenant, a direction for our shared journey, and a commitment to encourage each other to spiritual growth. This morning, bring who you are and where you have traveled. Bring your heavy hearts, your hearts full of joy and love. Bring your hunger for belonging. You are welcome here to this celebration of love and wonder. We're so glad you're with us. My name is Ann Radford. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a member of our worship arts team. Leading worship with me today is our minister, Reverend Mary Gear, Sarah Lewis, our Director of Community and Faith Development, and Troy Fisher, our Music Director. We give thanks for the tech team and OUUC Media Specialist Joe Saline for providing technical support today. And thanks to Darlene Sarkala, our administrator, for keeping us informed and connected. And we are grateful for the many hands that help make worship happen this morning. After the service, we invite you to stay online for a virtual coffee chat. This is a chance to gather with a small group to say hello and to check in. Each breakout room will be hosted by someone to help make sure everyone knows each other and has a chance to share. Reverend Mary will offer reflection questions to get the conversation started. We hope you'll stay. I want to draw your attention to the order of service, which includes our announcements available on the website. Here are a couple of messages from the OUUC Board of Directors. This afternoon, we have the last of 3 all-congregational meetings as part of our journey to a new vision, mission, and ends for OUUC. We hope you will contribute your voice by joining us at 1:30 p.m. You can find the link in today's service announcement and on our website. Should OUUC sync up our fiscal year and our program year? That's the question that a team of congregants, stakeholders, and staff and board members analyzed. Come hear the recommendation from the leaders of this group on March 21st after the coffee chat for our next Q&A session. We hope to see you there. Next, the Books, Brownies, and Beans online book sale begins tomorrow and will last for 1 week. Please help make this fundraiser a success by joining to Shop for Good or to click a button to donate. This year, all proceeds will support 2 local nonprofits, Help Us Move In, which focuses on families with children, and Quixote Communities, with a focus on single adults and veterans. Thousands of books are available. Find the store link on the OUUC website, and we'll also put the link in the chat. Last, please plan to join together in community to celebrate the life of Brad Gupta on Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. You will find the link for this online remembrance on the OUUC website and in the weekly update. There are many opportunities to stay connected to our community because social distancing doesn't mean social isolation. Please check the website regularly if you have questions or if you need help. Please contact a staff member. This morning, let us come together with love and appreciation for one another. Now, let us open our hearts and our minds as we prepare for worship. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be together.
Good morning, everyone. This morning and every Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. Please join me as we light our chalices together. These words are offered by Amy Carroll Webb. We light this flame for the sacred art of unknowing, humbled by all that we cannot fathom in this time. We come into the presence of what we do know, perhaps the only thing we can ever know, that love is now and forever, the only answer to everything and everyone in every moment. Our opening words this morning are offered by the Reverend Nancy Reed McKee. We are not confined by the physical limits of walls, or for that matter, of what binds us, restricts us, holds us back. We are freer than we know when we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community. We are here together in many ways in this space. I see you. I hear you. I love you. We light a chalice, a beacon of this community, holding us all together, here, now. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. Let's sing together our opening hymn, hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build a common good, and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its reward, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours and loss, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build the common good, and make our own days glad.
Thank you for singing.
Good morning. Our story today is by Karen Johnston. Right now, one of the ways that we've been told that we can take care of each other is to stay 6 feet apart. Some people call it the safe 6. How do we figure out what is a safe 6? Well, If you've been to a store recently, you might have seen marks on the ground that tell you where to stand when you're waiting in line so you don't get too close together. But how else could we figure it out? An easy way, if you're a grown-up, is to imagine that you're standing with your arms stretched out and almost touching the hand of another person with their arms stretched out, but not really touching. That should be about 6 feet. Or if you're not a grown-up or you're a little shorter, you can imagine stretching out your arms, but then taking a hop to the side. That should be about 6 feet. Well, it's still important to wear a mask, of course, and especially if you're inside or with people who aren't part of your pod. All of this about figuring out safe 6 with our arms reminds me of another thing that are done with arms, or flippers, actually. It's about sea turtles. There are all kinds of sea turtles, and they have big front flippers for swimming. One of the kinds of sea turtles is the leatherback. It's called leatherback because instead of a hard shell, its shell is kind of soft and leathery. Leatherbacks can be 6 feet from the tip of their nose to the tip of their tail. That's as big as a grown-up human, and it's how far we want to stay apart from each other. Their front flippers are even more. They can be 8 or 9 feet across. And their back flippers are about the same length as our grown-up arms, about 3 feet long. The leatherback mamas come up onto the sand at night to lay all of their eggs. They'll pull themselves up onto the sand, and then they'll dig a hole with their flippers and lay their eggs in the hole. There can be 50 to 150 eggs. Then the mama goes back into the sea and doesn't see the hatchlings again. Sometimes there are people who want to steal the eggs. Some people like to eat them as a special treat and will pay a lot of money for them. It's not right to do that because there aren't a lot of sea turtles left. But there are other people who protect the eggs. These protectors watch while the mama comes ashore and sits with them while they're laying their eggs. The mama doesn't mind. She's got her attention on her body in the process of laying her eggs. After the mama leaves, the protectors take the eggs and bury them in a section that's guarded by a fence where they can hatch in safety. The protectors use their arms to bury the eggs, just like the mama would use the flippers. I really like remembering how we can use our arms and how they're like flippers, because it reminds me that we're all related. It reminds me of our 7th principle, the interdependent web of life. And it reminds me of remembering how far 6 feet is and how we can keep each other safe right now. Truly, we are all connected. Thank you for our story today.
We came together in community this morning, bringing all that is in our lives. In this space, we draw on our commitment to community, to each other, to listen deeply and hold all that we bring here with us. If you would like to send in something to share, please look for the link on the online worship page on the website or send me an email and we'll bring it into the service next week. In this space, we share from our hearts what brings us joy and sorrow, what brings us worry and delight, what makes us afraid and what makes us dance. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life, our own and others. You will hear a drumbeat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat together and we create the heartbeat of our community. Right now, let's just take a deep breath together, in and out. And let's open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives and community today. Roger and Ann Nielsen ask for our prayers and positive thoughts. Roger is in Providence St. Peter's Hospital recovering from heart bypass surgery, which happened yesterday. Anne says that the surgery went very well and that Roger will be in the ICU for a few days, then headed to rehab as he recovers. Roger and Anne are well taken care of and supported by their children in the area, and they offer their thanks and gratitude to this community for prayers and support. Roger and Anne, we send you our love and care with hopes for a full recovery soon. Gary and Sandra Worthington wanted us to know that Sandra fell and broke a hip last week, requiring a partial hip replacement surgery. She is now in the Panorama Convalescent and Rehabilitation Center for physical therapy to enable her to improve enough to return home. No visitors are allowed, and Sandra would appreciate no calls just yet. Gary is happy to receive cards and emails to pass on to Sandra. You can find their contact information in the directory, and it's been sent out through Caring Friends. Sandra, we send you our healing thoughts and care with wishes for a full recovery, and may you return home soon. And last, Barry Zicker and family ask for our good wishes as Barry has a pacemaker implanted. He hopes that this will happen soon so he can feel better and get back to whatever normal is right now. Barry, we send our care to you with the hope for a successful procedure and a quick recovery. I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat box on your screen. And this is a time to share all that you wish, joys and sorrows and whatever else is shared from your heart. And as we take in what is posted, let's hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care to all those who share. I place a stone in the water for all that has been shared from the heart a stone holding the complexity of our lives, held in the water of community. And one more stone in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. There has been much in the world to break our hearts. This morning, I offer a ritual of grief and gratitude, adapted from the work of UU minister Kathy Ryan Starr. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic is real for all of us. Some of us have had the virus, and many of us know people who have been ill. None of us has escaped its impact. We share now a ritual to recognize the deaths due to COVID-19, to note the particular pain of grieving in isolation, as well as to lift up gratitude for all those on the front lines: healthcare workers, grocery store workers, janitors, domestic workers, those developing and administering the vaccine. I have a candle to symbolize our grief and gratitude. You may wish to find your own candle to light with me, or simply focus on a chalice or a candle on your screen. We'll say a phrase together, then I'll say a few words and invite you to speak the names that are on your heart. You'll be muted, so feel free to say what you wish out loud. I invite you to join me in saying, "We light this candle. We light this candle." In honor of all those working on the front lines, in hospitals, nursing homes, grocery stores, gas stations, and elsewhere, I invite you now to name those you know on the front lines. And say with me, "We light this candle to send our love to those dying in isolation, especially those who we know and those who are loved by those we know." I invite you now to name those you know who have died of the COVID-19 virus. And say with me, "We light this candle to send our love to all of those grieving deaths of all causes." I invite you now to say the name of those you know who are grieving. Say with me, "We light this candle in gratitude for all who have developed the vaccines and who are administering them as quickly as they can." Say with me, "We light this candle in recognition of the enormity of this pandemic's impact on each of us, on those we love, on everyone, especially those already challenged by poverty, racism, transphobia, ableism, xenophobia, and more." Say with me, "We light this candle in recognition of the impact of white supremacy on all of us, especially people of color and Indigenous." Say with me, we light this candle in grief, in honor, in recognition, and most of all, in love. One more time, we light this candle. Let's hold a moment of silence together.
Let's sing together hymn number 1014, Answering the Call of Love. The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of
Our meditations and prayers deepen our gratitude for what we know is sacred in our lives and in this world. Each Sunday, we express our gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. The offering collected today does two things. It supports the ongoing work of OUUC, which is also supported by your regular pledges. This offering also supports an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist principles. In March and April, our Share the Plate recipient is GRUB, Garden Raised Bounty. Grub's mission is to grow healthy food, people, and community. Grub invites OUUC to support their Wild Foods and Medicines program, Tend, Gather, and Grow. This reconnects students with our plant and animal communities, increases food access, teaches multicultural communication, and lifts up Native voices. With COVID-19, Grub has received multiple requests from schools, Indigenous communities, outdoor education resources. Your generous support will help continue to create and distribute at-home learning kits to local Indigenous communities, parents, and local schools. Thank you. Please note that you can participate in the offering by making a donation online through the church website or by texting the number that will appear on your screen in just a moment. You can also mail a check to OUUC. Our community partners continue to need our financial support. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received. Thank you for your generous gifts. Today's reading is titled Knows No Bounds by Reverend Marta Valentin. You must live and breathe. It must be your first thought in the morning and the last at night when twilight descends. It must be what you search for in the darkness, the light that leads you to find who you are, where you are, what you are. It is understood already that you would die for it, but are you willing to be born again for it? Change your cells for it? If you were dying of thirst, it would be your only drink of water, the one liquid to quench your thirst, sate your parched soul, resuscitate your empty lungs. In the dead of winter, it will be your fire, blanket, scarf, hat, hat. In the desert, it would be your mirage and your oasis. Even when you don't want it, can't stand it, despise it, it will come looking for you, haunt you, track you down, beg your attention and love. For the purpose that you are blessed with knows no bounds, only that if you are not paying attention, you will be lost until it finds you, until you heed its call and be who and what you were meant to be. This ends our reading.
I'm here alone in the OUUC sanctuary this morning, connected to you through my laptop, perched on the pulpit with a really long cord snaking across the floor and plugged into a modem over in the sound closet. There are chairs stacked in the corners of the room and other chairs set up, as you saw in the video, as if waiting for you all to arrive. And some of you will soon, taking that walk that Marie just did with her phone. There is so much hope now as the number of COVID cases fall and the number of vaccines rise. I'm also aware that some of you have never been in the OUUC sanctuary, and some of you may never be. We hope you will continue to join us online in the future, whatever that future looks like. The world has changed. This past week was the 1-year anniversary of when the world changed. These past weeks, I've heard many of you remember your last something, your last time at work or even working, your last time at school, your last time seeing your grandkids or hugging a friend, your last time traveling, your last time at OUUC. We lost lives, and we lost our lives. Everything was normal until it wasn't. 1 year ago, last week, the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic. President Trump issued a ban on travel from China. Tom Hanks and his wife tested positive for COVID-19 while filming in Australia. An NBA game was stopped just before the tip-off when a player tested positive for the virus, and the entire NBA season was postponed. On March 13th, 2020, Governor Inslee declared that all activity in the state shut down except for essential services. And also on that day, the Unitarian Universalist Association recommended to UU congregations that all worship services and other church functions go online, grounded in our theology that we are all connected and responsible to safeguard each other and the most vulnerable among us. That week last year, the board and I were talking about whether to close the OUUC building, how the decision would be made and who would make it. The staff and I were talking about how we would live stream a Sunday service, reviewing equipment and platforms. And we had a guest speaker scheduled for that Sunday, Joe Rettenmeyer, who turned out to be the perfect person to have on site that morning with his calm presence and background in production. We limited the people in the sanctuary to just a few. Joe, Reverend Carrie Kopnick, Riley McLaughlin, Troy, Sarah, and Bob Sundstrom as celebrant. I watched from home as this amazing crew made it happen and appear effortless. And I learned later about the trials and worries and the duct tape. Today is the 1-year anniversary of OUUC's first online service. It's been quite a year. As I look back on those first online worship services, I see an unfolding of who we are and what we have become this past year. Volunteers came forward to help with the technical aspects of live streaming worship, and the tech team was born. That team helped so many of us learn new technology and devices, and many of you learned Zoom for the first time. Troy and I learned how to record ourselves, and Troy learned how to convene the choir community and host a cabaret online. As you can see today, over time, the Commons has been transformed into a studio with cameras and cords, chairs spaced 9 feet apart or more to keep all of the musicians safe. Sarah expanded her already excellent storytelling skills online and added to her puppet collection. And Darlene learned how to post the order of service and bulletin online and how to best share information with everyone. Joe Celine joined us as OUUC's first media specialist. Jobs have changed. Lives have changed. We have changed. Service topics over this past year have been about uncertainty, being in liminal space in between, and how to hold on to hope. I preached about shared ministry and our obligations to each other. And when I rewrote our welcome last year to include phrases like, it's about connection and not perfection, and social distancing doesn't mean social isolation, I never imagined we'd be saying those words a year later. And we've learned new words: pandemic, masking, flatten the curve, and Zoom fatigue. Over this past year, so much at OUUC has adapted and changed. Melanie Ransom led the team for an all-online auction last June that was a gigantic success. Sally Brennan led the stewardship team for an extraordinarily successful pledge drive in October. Mo Canny and Susan Dodson have led a group to bring books, brownies, and beans online this year. Don't forget to start shopping tomorrow morning. And many of you have participated in so many groups, social groups, covenant circles, classes, discussion groups, reflection circles, and more. Members of the pastoral care team have been regularly calling everyone in the directory to check in and see how they are doing. And Josie Solsang has helped in responding to the sharing that you all do on Sunday morning. The worship arts team has transitioned to online services with calm and grace. Every group and individual has changed. When I look back over this last year, I see a shared commitment to maintain connection as much as possible within OUUC and out into our community, even when it's different and hard. Our spiritual theme for this month is commitment. The word has 3 Latin roots: com, meaning together, mit, meaning to send, and ment, meaning a result. A commitment is something that we choose to do in community toward a shared result. It implies action and choice. It sounds to me a lot like the visioning process we are in right now. In keeping with our theme this month, I asked you to share if and how your commitments have changed this past year. A number of you sent in thoughtful, humorous, and sweet reflections. Thank you to all who shared your thoughts and heart with me. It wasn't surprising to notice some themes emerge. Some of you shared that you feel even closer to the OUUC community now, and that there is a sense of intimacy on Zoom, especially in small groups, that we might not feel in person. A few noted that you can attend classes and meetings and play games, all from the comfort of your own home without having to drive at night. A few of you feel distanced from the OUUC community, zoomed out from work and school, waiting for the day when we can gather in person again. Many of you shared that you feel more connected to friends and family, even coworkers. I've heard stories of reconnection with long lost friends and relatives and making new friends or finding new communities, even in the pandemic. Some of you told of being more committed to staying connected to others with regular phone calls, texts, and even Zoom. One longtime member shared that their circle is smaller and tighter. At the same time, some of you shared your grief at the losses this year, family and friends, OUUC members and friends. For some, the isolation has been overwhelming, so missing family and friends. The nation has suffered the loss of more than 530,000 people to COVID, and some of us have lost loved ones to the virus. The deaths of OUUC members and friends this past year have not been COVID related, but we've been impacted by the loss of our usual rituals of remembrance, taking them online or delaying them altogether. We miss the opportunity to grieve together in our usual ways. Many of you shared that this past year has caused you to be more committed to self-care, self-discovery, and slowing down. Several mentioned that it's been easier to say no during the pandemic, and that care for body, mind, and spirit is now a priority. And others shared that they feel busier than ever. A few of you shared that your commitment to justice has been strengthened in the last year, empowered by the movements for racial justice and political action. And I've heard stories from some of you who were active in election work and politics in a way that you hadn't been before, and remain committed to that work in the future. And last, many of you mentioned an increased comfort with imperfection. I wrote, "It's about connection, not perfection," as a reminder for us all, including and especially me, that we don't know how to navigate a pandemic, and we won't always get it right, but we will try together. This last year has brought enormous change. Some things have changed for all of us, and for some of us, everything has changed. Jobs, homes, partners, friends, lives. Some of those enormous changes have become unremarkable. We wear masks, we visit outdoors. Many still work and learn from home, and the OUUC building is still mostly closed. Some of us have said we are forgetting what normal is. And one member commented that they cringed while watching an old movie, seeing a couple of friends moving toward each other without wearing masks. What I hear in these stories is grief and gratitude, and all the feelings in between. Part of the joy of being in community is that we mark milestones and transitions together in all the ways that we can, the hard transitions and the ones we celebrate. We hold each other, sometimes figuratively and sometimes in person, creating space to feel our feelings, whatever they may be. We mark these transitions to remind us of what has been and that we are still here. It helps us stop to notice the passage of time, our complex feelings, and our own resilience. It helps us open our hearts and minds for what is to come. The world has changed. We have changed and will never be the same. This week, I invite you to make space for the emotions related to so much change, all of the feelings. Commit to making space for yourself and for those around you. As one of you said, we are all struggling and we need each other now and always. We are not done with this transition yet, and the transition is not done with us either. Uncertainty remains, and we are on our way, heeding the call to be who and what we were meant to be together. Let's bring our grief and gratitude into a moment of silence together.
Let's sing together our closing hymn, hymn number 1028, The Fire of Commitment. From the light of days remembered, burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. And the fire of commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when the hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way. When we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then the promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to a life of liberty. When the fire
Let's extinguish our chalices together with some words and phrases that we have heard today. Answering the call of love, grief and gratitude. We light this candle. Sacred unknowing. Tend, gather, and grow. Arms as protectors. Fire of commitment. Wondrous love. May we move in peace.
Let's join together in singing our unison benediction. How bountiful the blessings that surround us. We come together, grateful to be one. As we go